This trial is getting intense, man. It is. I already knew it was going to, though, and it's still early. You still got about 7 to 8 weeks. 7 to 8 weeks. And we're just at the beginning, closing out week 1. Miss Ventura, you're looking shaky up here. And we just got to keep it a buck. Sorry, but it is what it is.
You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers.
Miss Ventura took to the stand this week, and she shared a lot of drama, a lot of abuse about being urinated on, about just a lot. If you've been following the story, you already know. Well, here's some information for you just in case you aren't up to speed. I'm going to give my feedback, of course, but I wanted to help my side of the internet keep up with actually everything that is happening along the way. So let's get into this clip here.
Sarah Azari, criminal trial attorney, News Nation legal analyst, and host of Serving Justice on News Nation. Boy, oh boy, this was a big day in the courtroom in Diddy's trial. So much so that I had to bring my notes with me. So let me start with the bombshell testimony. At the end of cross-examination, Cassie Ventura admitted that she just settled with the Intercontinental Hotel for $10 million, and then the defense sat down. Wow, that is going to be a huge argument for the defense that this was a money grab, that she demanded, she got paid $20 million from Diddy, she got another 10 from the hotel. Initially, she had demanded $30 million from Diddy, so at the end, she made her $30 million. And this is something that obviously did not come up on her direct examination, and she was very uncomfortable when she was asked this question by the defense attorneys. She was kind of She wasn't expecting the question. So the jury is watching, and the defense will argue that this is all a money grab. But
I watched a video just now from Poetic Flacco, and he was saying, "Look, man, she finessed Diddy. She finessed Diddy for that 30, and she finessed that hotel for that that 10. Sorry." Honestly, with those lawsuits, I don't really have enough to say if that was the case or not. I mean, um, here's what's happening, right? She gave her side of everything that she noticed. There's some stuff that she didn't mention that other people mentioned, but what the defense is trying to argue is you were a part of a lot of this shit. You had absolutely a large factor to play in what happened at some of these freak offs. You're not as innocent as you think you are. We have text messages, we have transcripts, and I I'm not going to pull them up, but they are there. Trust me. I've seen them. I've read them. There's like 80 different people talking about it. But she's contradicted herself a lot. And so they're trying to say, look, cut the shit. You were cheating on your dude while you were still fucking with Diddy, even though you're trying to say, oh, he raped'd you, but you still ended up back in that man's bed. And on top of that, there was an incident where you were getting your cheeks clapped while your dude was FaceTiming you. Whole time your man still standing by your side, trying to defend you right now, even to this day. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It is.
Let me go back to the beginning of the day. The defense elicited testimony about Diddy's state of mind during the 2016 hotel altercation. Essentially, Cassie admitted that he was intoxicated. I think where the defense is going is that they're trying to divorce a drunk, drug-induced Diddy from someone who's sober, that he had a problem with drugs and alcohol at the time, and that but for that, he is not a violent person. Cassie also completely ignored the idea of a committed relationship. She says she wasn't really cheating when she was with these different people that she claims that Diddy would have been rageful over. Well, it's kind of disingenuous as well, because if you're not cheating, why are you using a burner phone? So I thought that was interesting. And the defense also tried to highlight her own propensity for violence, claiming that at some point she threatened to kill a man who purportedly had a freak-off video of her and Diddy. But that fell flat because she explained that that is at the direction of Diddy, that Diddy told her to get to the bottom of it. We also heard testimony about her psychological treatment for PTSD at a residential treatment center. That was interesting to me. It was a little conspicuous to me because why is the defense asking that? Is it to basically attack the reliability of her memory? That maybe if she has PTSD, she's exaggerating, she doesn't really remember, her memory's not reliable, right? I hope that's the case, and I hope there's going to be psychological records or other people that are going to testify that are experts about this, because otherwise it opened the door to highlighting that she was a victim of abuse, and therefore
I'm really convinced Kim Porter was absolutely killed. I have no doubt about it. Kim Porter was going to do what Cassie couldn't do or wouldn't do. And the problem with this is everybody wants to feel sorry for the woman because of abuse and this, that, and the third, but we're not taking into consideration that a lot of ladies out here, they have twisted minds, man. Their fetishes be fucking out of this world. You'd be surprised what these bras be into, man. So I don't know. This shit is crazy, bro. And it's still early. We still got weeks of this. I'm wondering who's going to be up next. Justin Bieber's peoples are saying he ain't had shit to do with none of this. Diddy ain't touch on him. Diddy ain't do nothing to him. I ain't buying that, though. I'm not. I think he's really trying to stay out of that shit. Maybe he was paid off. Maybe there's some stuff on him that they not trying to let. I don't know, but I don't believe that he's out of the water.
Suffered mental health trauma. Now, she provided additional detail about being raped by Diddy in 2018. And this is where it got interesting because her husband left the courtroom. Her husband might very well be called in by the defense as a witness when it's in their case. This is why. In 2018, when Cassie claimed she was raped by Diddy, she got a FaceTime call from her husband, Alex Fine. And she, in her testimony on cross, said that was not the same night that she was raped. That was a different night. That'll be interesting because her husband...
This part right here, this is the part where I was talking about a few minutes back. But because she made up the dates and lied and said that this wasn't this, but really what this was, she was getting smashed off by Diddy, that same incident where he was trying to FaceTime her. Absolutely trifling. That's some real ratchet, nasty shit. So, damn, your man was still fucking around with you and you was going back over here, even though you said this man was actually assaulting you. Right.
Might be a witness to pin down essentially when this rape occurred and whether it was the same night that her husband made the FaceTime call. If it is, and if it's left to the jury to put two and two together, I think another part of the defense here is going to be she's doing this all out of shame. She's trying to save face for her husband, for her children, for her family, for her mother, right? And so she's making up a rape that is otherwise a consensual sexual encounter. Now remember, rape is a violent predicate act to the racketeering charge, which carries 20 years to life. So this is serious. And if there's 2 or more, then he's guilty of that. If there's a criminal enterprise and there's 2 or more predicate acts. So we've got way more than 2 already out of her testimony. Another piece of testimony that was very important and caused sparks in the courtroom at the end of the day was the testimony of Don Richard, who came in and said in 2009, Diddy essentially hit Cassie over the head with a skillet of eggs that she was making for his breakfast, and she then fell to the ground in fetal position. And the next day, Richard testified that Diddy called them into the studio and essentially told her and another woman, another witness, that they are not to talk about this because otherwise they could go missing. And so that obviously caused a lot of sparks, and the day ended with that. And here's what I took away from that. Look, first of all, I think the prosecution is playing very dirty here. Cassie never testified to that 2009 incident of abuse. And that's significant. Getting hit with a skillet on the head, she never testified to that. Now, that doesn't mean that another witness can't testify to that. And the prosecution is probably going to say she's so traumatized and abused that her memory is altered. And she didn't remember that, which is actually lacks credibility, in my opinion. But nonetheless, the argument that the defense is making is that, look, you can't bring in this testimony about the next day and the threat that they might go missing. In other words, they might get killed if they say anything about this, because it has nothing to do with sex trafficking. Essentially, sex trafficking is the hook here. So the prosecution's playing dirty. And you know what I have to say as a defense attorney of 25 years? If you have a good case, just stick to your case. You don't need to play dirty. The fact that the prosecution is playing dirty here, never asked her on the stand about this incident, but then they ask the next witness about this, and they go further to talk about a threat the next day. This tells me that they have a weak case, which I've been saying all along, and they're playing dirty to make up for what they're missing. Overall, look, I think the defense calculated correctly that Cassie was a credible and sympathetic witness, and therefore they didn't go very hard on her. They're going to argue hard on her, but they didn't go hard on her. And I think that was really good tactic on the part of the defense. The prosecution, I think the redirect of Cassie was completely unnecessary. Why rehabilitate her and let it be, right? I think the strongest redirect is to say, we have no further questions of this witness. You may be excused, right? But there's this need for lawyers to get in there and try to rehabilitate, even when it's not necessary. So I thought that was really unnecessary. But, you know, overall, there are challenges ahead for both the defense and the prosecution. Ultimately, the jury has to separate the testimony about beatings and abuse and threats from the charges that Diddy is actually on trial for, which is sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. And that is extremely challenging for any human being to do, including this jury. And I think, you know, in the big picture, this case looks like it's really testing society's ability to discern bad and good moments in a relationship. It's truly a litmus test for that. In this sort of the thick of Me Too, right? How much is that going to, expose Diddy to a guilty verdict, especially on racketeering, which is the most serious charge here. But
I absolutely agree with that. We got to a place where your fetishes are they're damn near murder. You can damn near beat somebody to death, and one party can consider it to be just a kink that they like to do. Like, oh, I like being choked out. Let's choke each other out and see who passes out first while we having sex. Sit on my face and literally suffocate me. Like, people be in some real sick shit. And the problem here is between men and women going to jail over things like this. who's more likely to end up behind bars, men or women? We see a lot of women teachers right now going to jail, but they're not getting severe punishments for it. They might get 3 to 5 years, or maybe don't even get that much time. They might get most of that shit served in the house with an ankle monitor on. Dudes are getting life sentences. You just name it, they're getting all of that shit. It's not even close. But we don't have no type of boundaries anymore with our sexual endeavors. We don't even know how far is too far with this stuff. And when you're a celebrity and you're enjoying your kinks and things like that, it's looked at differently. You know, if they're trying to say that she is not as innocent as people make it seem out, I could see that happening. I do agree. I don't think it was necessary for them to bring in like the relationship shit. Keep it exactly where you need it to be and go from there. But the jury got a tough hand. They're really going to have to look at this as careful as possible. You don't want to be manipulated by her, but you also don't want to disregard what she's saying, because just because she might have been a participant in a lot of that shit, I don't believe that she's not necessarily a victim. Like my man said, she probably got her ass beat, but she was young and she probably got used to it or enjoyed that shit. I don't know, man. I don't know. I've said this shit 1,000 times. I don't put nothing past nobody, especially in Hollywood. I think all of them be into some shit. She might not have started out that way, but we'll see. Do me a solid, like, share, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you thought about the video. How do you feel this case is going moving forward with her? Do you believe her? Do you think she's innocent? Do you think, like, let me know.
Merry Christmas, filthy animals. And a Happy New Year.